watching Daybreak on the Rise News channel. As promised, it's time for the press review. A first look at the front pages and analysis of the big stories. Let's look at our the front page of our sister publication this morning. And it leads with CBN doubling down on monetary tightening. Again, raises MPR to 24.75% to curb inflation. A couple of writers to that story: increases merchant banks CRR to 14% from 10%. Urges federal government to address food insecurity, implement agricultural policies to improve supply. Apex Bank seeks to expedite banks' recapitalization. Cardoso insists all verified FX backlogs settled. $2.4 billion ineligible. Security agencies probing dubious transactions. Also says CBN won't restrict dairy farms from FX market. And Naira appreciates to 1,350 to the dollar. In the yellow box this morning, Tinubu: we must treat kidnappers as terrorists. They are cowardly. The leading photograph is that of the governor of Zamfara State and President Bola Tinubu at the Aso Rock Villa. As the Zamfara governor says, his state is under siege by bandits. Above the masthead this morning, Lokbobori seeks reduction of bureaucracy in petroleum sector, eyes $5 billion in Bonga North project. This and many more make it to the front page of this day.
Let's look at the Punch newspaper. CBN EFCC Probes Banks firms over alleged forex racketeering. It says CBN implements the Deloitte Forex audit report. EFCC may summon CEOs over $2.4 billion in valid requests. Let's take you to the top mast. NOC insists on same NIN deadline. Telcos bad lines on Friday. Unemployment responsible for rising banditry. Kidnapping. This is coming from former President Olusegun Obasanjo. Slain soldiers for burial today. Military demands killers capture. And there you see 6 missing, 2 rescued as U.S. cargo ship destroys Baltimore Bridge.
The Guardian Nigeria this morning: Central Bank of Nigeria sees growth for foreign capital inflow as Naira nears 1,300 to the dollar. The leading infographics there is that of the CBN governor, and that interest rate that was increased to 24.75% yesterday. NLC wants its new minimum wage committee meets. Meanwhile, insecurity chief Edwin Clark Mamu hit back at the handling of Delta killings and anti-terrorism. In the U.S., Baltimore Bridge suffers catastrophic collapse. Several people are missing. That's the Guardian Nigeria.
60 hours after, Kuriga students yet to reunite with their families, headlines the Daily Trust this morning.
Let's look at the Sports Punch Extra on its front page. Boldly there, Africa's best. Boniface rated ahead Inaki Kudus of Ghana, Ayu Okoye, Osimhen in Europe. Falcons keeper confident of Bayana win. City sweat over Walker ahead of Arsenal clash on Sunday. And Arsenal match Chelsea's £51 million Diomande offer.
Some international papers this morning. The Financial Times. There's a story there of Donald Trump's social media group, Trump Media Technology, jumps 50% on NASDAQ market debut. The ex-president's stake worth $5 billion. Windfall unlikely to pay court dues. Meanwhile, crypto firm Copper served sushi off partially clad models at London party. At the top, that photo showing the Baltimore Bridge that went down. Several people missing after a cargo ran into it. Biden is now pledging to Baltimore.
The Guardian UK also features the photograph of the damaged bow of the container ship Dali in the wreckage of the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore. After the vessel struck the crossing and destroyed it yesterday, all 6 people are reported missing. But the big story on the front page of The Guardian is that of a report which says the Confederation of British Industry, otherwise known as the CBI, is using gagging clauses to prevent staff from discussing experiences of sexual misconduct and bullying.
the I-paper state pension, state pension may rise to 68 sooner to pay for triple lock pledge.
And now for the review of what's the big stories on our front page this morning. We're joined by Dr. Constance Ikoku, who is a social commentator, a Rise News analyst. Let's take a look at this day newspaper this morning and what the president, Bola Tinubu, is saying. He says, we must treat kidnappers as terrorists, calling them cowards. Also warning local insecurity may be a threat to the entire North. Dr. Ikoku, what are your thoughts on the president's, what he's saying? I think this is not the first time he's saying this about kidnappers.
Good morning. Good morning, Nkechi. Yes, the president is coming out with very strong words for kidnappers and by extension terrorists and bandits as well, because many Nigerians feel whether they are called bandits, they are the same thing as terrorists. And the president is essentially saying that we need to do more. And he was speaking after he had a meeting with the governor of Zamfara state, who has shared his concerns and expressed fears that his state is totally under siege. He is asking the president for more military presence and formation and security help to make sure that this does not continue in that part of the country. And we know that Zamfara state has been the epicenter of kidnapping, and it definitely is affecting other parts of the North. And the president is saying that we cannot allow kidnappers to continue because they prey on very vulnerable parts of society, such as children and women. And this is very unacceptable. The point then, or the question is to the president, does he have a robust plan on how to tackle this? If he has that plan, he should get on with it, because he has at his disposal all the security agencies. He is the commander-in-chief of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And so people want to see that they have a great plan, a solid plan on how to tackle the issue of security, which is affecting every sector in Nigeria.
Well, the former president, Olusegun Obasanjo, seems to think that the unemployment rate in the country is responsible for the level of insecurity we're seeing in the country, and that's on the front page of The Punch. But let's touch on the big story, Dr. Ikoku, this morning. The CBN, the EFCC are probing banks and firms over alleged forex racketeering. Is this news to you?
Yes, on President Obasanjo, there are several factors that is affecting insecurity in the country, and so there will have to be a multidimensional approach. It's not just one thing. You know, if you improve the economy and if you create jobs, of course, it will positively affect security in the country. And then when it comes to CBN, that is a very major story. The information is that the CBN has been handling $7 billion debt from the previous government, and it has hired a firm to audit that debt, and it has found out that about 2.5 billion or 2.4 billion of that money or forex allocations in the previous government went to shady companies and fictitious companies, and most of them did not meet the criteria for allocating forex allocations. And so the CBN governor is saying that this is unlawful and it has to stop. At the same time, there are companies that are saying that they need to be paid their forex allocations because they have valid they are valid companies. So this is an investigation that is going on. We also remember that very recently the EFCC said categorically that 70% of fraud in Nigeria is perpetrated by banks. So the point here then is that the CBN has to be independent because it is the regulatory framework that regulates the banks. If the CBN is in bed with banks, then this is not going to change. It has to do its job to make sure that the fraud that goes on in banks does not continue.
Look at Constance. Let's look at the front story, front page of The Guardian. Some stories there jump at you. The insecurity again, Clark Mamu hitting back at handling of Delta killings and terrorism. And you have NLC warning as new minimum wage committee meets. But then the lead story there, CBN sees growth for foreign capital inflow as Naira nears 1,300 to the dollar. And Naira continues to edge up, with traders quoting as low as 1,200 to the dollar.
This is another economic story, and I think it has been contentious from day one. The CBN argues that it has to take this step in order to increase capital inflow, and then when this happens, it will strengthen the Naira and make more money available, and then the interest rates will fall. But the critics counter that this might be a short-term measure that helps the economy, but in the long term or in the medium term, it actually is catastrophic. They say that it's very expensive to borrow, it's very expensive to expand industries, it will affect production, our factories are unable to buy new equipment and all of that. So it depends on which side you are economically, but the point is that not everybody agrees with what the CBN is saying or the policy that it has taken in regard to this. Then we wouldn't have to see it. I think it is a waiting game. In the next couple of months, the CBN is confident that this will make a great impact in the economy. We will then wait and see whether it is right or whether the critics are the ones that are right in this instance.
Dr. Ikoku, before we let you go, international paper Financial Times, Donald Trump always making the news in the courts, now in the market. His social media group, Trump Media and Technology Group, jumps 50% on NASDAQ market debut. Now it's saying the ex-president's stake is worth $5 billion. However, windfall unlikely to pay court dues. Dr. Ikoku.
Interesting thing about this story is that the investors in this instance are very small supporters of President Donald Trump, former President Donald Trump. It is not big institutional investors, but he has diehard supporters that continue to follow him and want to see him win and want to see him do well. Of course, the story also mentions that it doesn't help his problems. He has big financial woes, big legal woes. Only last week, a judge in New York asked him to pay over $400 million for falsifying, tax records, for inflating the net worth of his company. At the end of the day, former President Donald Trump is a phenomenon, and I think he will continue to have support. He knows how to rile his support base. The wars are going to continue. There's more to come on this front, but he is a fighter, and then we'll have to see more that is going to happen in the story.
How truth is truth social media. Thank you so much, Dr. Constance Ikoku. We do appreciate your time with us. Well, that's the press review this morning. For more, you can follow us on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Arise TV.